I'm mourning the death of democracy.
It can either go very well or very wrong. We managed to get through the entire debate, and she didn't mention Farage once.
No,
She
but
mentioned
now I'm
Farage
like...
once. So, the presidential election. I'm Izzy.
And I'm Garcia.
Welcome to Informally Informed.
Begrudgingly.
So, obviously, we know that this episode is not going to go out the day of, the day after that, or even the day after that. But because we did the debate on it, although we're a little bit behind the times now, we thought it was worth at least doing a quick reaction to the results. As I'm sure everybody is fully aware by now, Donald Trump won the US election. He won the popular vote. He won all 7 swing states. And he only lost New Jersey by 5 points. What's going on?
But do you see what happened here? Was a peaceful...
I also
have
have my real bits love Trump.
Trump could learn a thing or two come January, because I'm sure there'll be a peaceful handover of power, something that he didn't do. I am feeling very salty about this.
He did.
Whatever. I'm feeling salty about this because I'm mourning the death of democracy.
Did you watch Kamala Harris's final concession speech?
No, because I was asleep. And I've not watched it since.
It was very good.
I'm sure it was because she is a lady with integrity.
It was the best speech she'd ever given. It's the first time she'd ever spoken common sense. So it begs the question why she wasn't like that before.
Ha.
No, genuinely.
I've not seen it, so I'm just commenting in the dark. But Donald Trump is a joke, and so is...
So why do you think he won?
I think that his charisma and charm has swayed the American populace. I also think that... Well, we'll see what the next 4 years brings, shall we? 5 years? 4 years? 4 years. We'll see what the next 4 years brings. Because I'll be interested to see what happens with Israel and Russia and what's happening in the Sudan.
Notice Vladimir Putin didn't give one of Vladimir Putin's spokesperson gave a statement. Did you hear about this?
I did.
That said that he wasn't going to be congratulating Donald Trump, which is no great surprise. So I thought it'll be interesting to see how Russia-Ukraine pans out now.
Yeah, and more importantly, to see what happens in America, because I think it's 70% of Jews voted for Kamala Harris.
I've heard multiple. I've heard 70%, but that was the exit polls. That's not the same thing.
Of course.
And then I heard one that said 56% Jews voted for Harris. But that's not uncommon because Jews in the US overwhelmingly vote Democrat anyway. So it's not really out of the ordinary.
I'm surprised by the 20 million that didn't turn up to vote or something like that voted for Trump last time, sat out, and apparently the demographics for that is white males, but I'm not entirely sure. I just heard
70% of white women vote for Trump.
That's also not surprising to me. That's not surprising to me at all. But you know what? We'll see what happens. We'll see what another Trump presidency...
Something like 20% of black men voted for Trump, which is a big turnaround compared to recent years.
We'll see what another 4 years brings.
7% of black women voted for Trump, which doesn't seem obviously a lot, but compared to like the 4% that voted in... I mean, the numbers are compared to like 2008 with Barack Obama, then 2012 with Barack Obama, then 2016, then 2020, then 2024. There's been a shift of the black vote percentage by percentage towards the Republican Party.
Well, again, we'll see what his policies say. I did note that David Lammy, our foreign minister, has retracted his views on Trump after calling him, what did he call him?
Something
Some sort of deplorable thing.
Some sort of Trump derangement syndrome kind of weird.
I see what you did.
Whatever he did.
Well, you know, we'll see
Something
what happens.
insane anyway.
And I'd be interested to see how British relations with America pan out and where they go, because I want to see if this special relationship will still work with Keir Starmer, the communist, and
Keir the commie, Starmer
Trump.
the granny harmer.
Indeed. So we'll see what the rest of the world has to say. I did briefly read a article on Al Jazeera in which world leaders were commenting, and I did note that Afghanistan and Taliban see this as a way forward, Trump winning. So we'll see how this goes. Hopefully it's it will be the dawning of a new era. Good or bad, we'll see. And hopefully, you know, there'll be no more storming of any buildings.
So the question remains is, why did he win? Because I think the Democrats seem to be under the delusion that he won because everybody voted for him as bad people. And all this ridiculous hyperbole about the ending of democracy and all this sort of stuff. I mean, that's where they went wrong in the campaign.
Of course.
I think it's two issues. I think Trump ran a very, very good campaign.
And he's been complaining since he's been out of power.
And I think, yeah, but it's all well and good saying he's been campaigning when he's been out of power. But the mainstream media haven't really been covering it. Not like he wasn't on the campaign. Like the whole stunt with McDonald's, I think was a fantastic thing. And it spoke to the modern people. And everyone in the Democrats like, But all the people that work in McDonald's like, yeah, man. Do you know what I mean? He understands the working people in a way that the Democrat elite simply do not. And then his stunt with the garbage.
Mm-hmm.
That was genius. And then the stunt with, I say stunt. I'm calling them all stunts. But they weren't really. They were campaign publicity thing, in a similar way that Kamala Harris did her stunts.
But she didn't do. I think that the problem with Harris.
Did you see about the door knocking? The door knocking. She was going around door knocking, and then she was talking to this one couple, and somebody filmed her saying, "Can you go back inside so that I can door knock?" And it was all like pre-planned, which obviously they all are. And I think the Democrats have ran a really, really bad campaign.
I agree. And knowing that she only had 6 months in which to campaign didn't help her.
And the fact that I think they should have just had a primary.
I think they should have just had a primary.
This is right. Kamala Harris was never going to be a good candidate. There is nothing to this woman. She's not a good public speaker. She's not particularly intelligent. She doesn't have a good record to fall back on. She was asked multiple times, what are you going to do differently from Biden? And then she said, nothing comes to mind on several occasions. But then when asked, she was like, oh yeah, but I'm not Joe Biden. I'm a different person. I'm going to bring change. Like the messaging was all over the place. And when she was asked direct questions about what she was going to do, all she said was, I'm not Hitler.
But Trump also did that. Obviously, it went differently with his voter base.
Of course, when you're running a campaign, you start off your opponent.
But yeah, he also did that. And
but first
I
of all,
disagree.
Trump did it better.
But can I just say,
second of all, he said other stuff as well.
I disagree. I don't think she's unintelligent. I do definitely think she's not a very good public speaker. And this is where I think Donald Trump, having been in the media publicity for a longer period, actually worked in his favour. Because he has that media training that Kamala Harris just does not. Or I should say, even if she's been given the training, she didn't take to it like a fish to water. No, she took to it like a fish to dry land.
These are questions. What are you going to do different to Joe Biden? They're simple questions that you should have prepped for.
But Trump didn't even give answers to most of them. He just kind of...
it's all well and good, but we're talking about Kamala Harris right now.
We're talking about Trump. Well, he won, didn't he?
Sure, but if we're talking about the reasons why they lost, we can have a conversation about Harris without saying, but Trump.
But yeah, I'm saying that in terms of the things that you've pointed out, he also did those things.
Sure.
But it went across differently.
Things, but it came across differently.
Yes.
Back to the point, right? She didn't prep very well. She couldn't answer basic questions, and
Not
she
in
gave
6
mixed
months.
messages.
They should have had a different nominee. I think that given the time and the situation, had they had a Bernie Sanders, he would have been president. I think that given the time and the situation, they should have.
I think the problem was that she was associated with Biden.
Yeah.
She felt it. She refused to distinguish herself from Biden.
Yeah.
And she's just not a very likable person.
Just because you don't like it doesn't mean she's unlikable.
Well, in 2020, she
did was the first person to drop out.
Wanted her. Everybody was slagging her off. She was the first, but nobody voted for in the primaries. She's not a very likable person, and I'm not just saying that. I know that a lot of I spoke to multiple Democrats, and they've all said exactly the same thing. But she's not a very likable person.
So the African Americans I know, I don't even like that term. The Jamaican Americans I know, shout out my family, who I spoke to about this situation. They pointed out, quite frankly, that part of the reason that a lot of the black community was split on Kamala Harris is because she never claimed to be black until she was trying to be elected. And that was a massive issue for them because unlike Barack Obama, who was mixed race also, he claimed both sides. And I think that's where Kamala Harris went wrong. She didn't claim those two sides until it was they needed, I need you for something. Do you know what I mean? And even in friendships, that doesn't go over. So what did she think was going to happen with the American public?
Well, even if she'd have got the black vote, she still wouldn't have won. She still would have, because black people predominantly...
It's like 11%, 13%, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. If you include both genders, yeah, would be something like that. She's the bottom line is she's just not very likable. Well, I'm not sure that it would have been split differently if they'd have put a better candidate forwards, for sure. But the Trump campaign did do an excellent job of appealing to moderates. And the problem, and the Democrats they learn, and Republicans do this as well, of course, they learn the wrong lessons. And the Democrats have shown time and time again that they're learning the wrong lessons repeatedly. Instead of most people care more. If you're struggling to put food on the table, if you're struggling for groceries because inflation's gone up, you're not caring about whether or not there's tampons in boys' bathrooms in schools. You're just not.
But also the other part of that,
this extreme radical way that they've portrayed themselves is not appealing to the vast majority of people.
Of course. And I think also where she went wrong is appealing to the middle classes only. So she ran on a very... she kept banging on about the middle class. The middle class in America is not like the middle classes here.
I was about to put it on that.
They don't really have one. Not in the same way. So who was she trying to appeal to? And I think that was part of the issue. The working populace these days.
Can I just point out?
Of course.
You were right about the first bit, but then I disagree with you on the second bit.
Okay.
The middle class in the US is different to the middle class in the UK.
Of course.
But you're still projecting your version of what you think the middle class should be like onto the US.
No,
so,
I'm aware.
We
watched this the same video when they were explaining the differences in the middle class. My point. Okay, go on.
There is a middle class. There is a very large middle class. But what they call middle class is basically just like the working class. They just use a different word for it.
Yeah.
So when so that's what I mean, right? So when she's talking about the middle class, she's talking about effectively what we would describe as the working class. Because most working class people might be going through difficult times, but they're not going hungry.
Yeah.
And that's what America views as the middle class. So she was trying to appeal to those people. It's just we define things differently being from the UK.
But also she didn't appeal enough because the thing is, America's a massive country of what, like 360 million or something like that, probably higher. She hasn't appealed to a wide enough voter base. She never did. And I feel like this is going to be a problem coming up with the Democrats in the next 4 years. They're too focused on, they're not focused on the right things.
And they look down.
On middle America. They look down. And then also the other thing is state rights. Trump ran on a state rights are important, state rights are good sort of platform, whilst Kamala didn't really comment on that, and that is an issue, and that was always going to be an issue. It was actually a conversation that I had with someone else that brought that up, in which they pointed out that Trump was running for state rights and she was not.
And state rights are more important than federal rights.
Yep.
And that's what a lot of people, I think, fail to realise.
Yep.
State rights are far more important than federal rights. Because you're talking about local issues. Decentralising is 100%. That's one of the reasons you voted for Brexit, right?
Yes, decentralisation. But also...
Although I will say that I was quite surprised that although Kamala's entire platform was vote for me because I ain't the other person, without actually talking about... Her entire campaign was one, in my opinion, ran on hate, not to joy, because every time she was asked a question about the South, she didn't answer it. She says, yeah, but, and swiveled it round. One of the interviews even said to her, look, all you've done is talk about Trump for this entire interview. I'm asking about you. But I will say that I thought she was going to go harder down the line of identity politics, and she didn't do that. She seemed to although there was some things at the beginning, like not identifying as black until it became convenient for her to do so, which is something that Donald Trump pointed out. But apart from that, whenever asked questions about, she didn't do what I call the Hillary Clinton campaign, which is vote for me because I'm a woman. She didn't do that. So you've got to give her respect for that.
I give her loads of respect anyway. She ran for the president of the United States. I give her mad respect.
She didn't. She's never won a vote. Well, she has, but that was in California, which is blue, deep blue.
Yeah.
And you could put a sack of potatoes up for election in California for the Democrat Party and they'd win. She's never been under any real scrutiny. And the minute she got torn apart.
Well,
she was just a bad candidate.
Okay.
She was just a bad candidate, in my opinion.
I agree that she wasn't the correct candidate.
I'd be very interested to find out whether this whole Department of Governmental Efficiency thing pans out.
I'd be interested.
Because it can either go very well or very wrong.
Very wrong.
And one of the things that I mentioned, obviously, in our debate was Trump and his deregulation. And again, that's something he's talked about on this campaign trail, about more deregulation, which I think is going to be a really good thing for America. And to be perfectly honest, if I was Keir Starmer and it worked, say it panned out well, and the Department of Government Efficiency, because we all know there is tons of inefficiencies in all governments because they're not private businesses, they're not as focused on, they should be, but because they consider taxpayer money to be quote-unquote free money, there's so many efficiencies. If he comes in and goes, this person's not needed, this person's not needed, this person, this, that and the other, and ends up saving a load of money that can then be spent on infrastructure and various other bits and bobs and really build up, because Donald Trump is not, shall we say, his main priority isn't reducing the deficit.
No.
Shall we say that? And I think the reason why is because he believes you can outgrow the debt by building the economy. So if you have more money in your back pocket, then you still might owe however many trillion, but as a percentage you're less leveraged. And that's his businessman personality coming in. So I think that do you disagree?
No, I don't. I'm just wondering if you're going to sing Donald Trump's praises like you do Farage. Because I'm like,
you know what? We managed to get through an entire debate, and she didn't mention Farage once.
No.
She
But now I'm like,
once.
I'm like, this. Listen,
we're doing a political analysis.
I've analysed and I'm done. I'm done. Good night, everybody. Goodbye.
Hang on, let me finish the point.
Let
me finish the point. Yeah, so I think the government efficiency is basically a good one to see where it goes out, because if it works well, then it can really boost the American economy. But we'll see.
Unless it sinks into the...
We'll put a pin in that.
America will probably sink in the sea from all the fracking. Anyway, we'll put a pin in that.
And we'll call it a day. And
we'll call it a day.
Our next episode is on personality types. So tune in for that one. It's going to be an interesting conversation.
Until then, join us next week. Feel free to comment. I'm sure that you will have a lot to say anyway.
Thank you for all your comments on the last debate as well. We appreciate that. Yeah.
I'm already rolling my eyes at all the pro-Trump stuff. Okay, bye. Let us know if you agree or disagree with any of our views. That's the point of the conversation. Join in.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell.